So I'm talking a little bit about digital tools and digital teams and what makes them a digital by default company. You have to think that now, even for COVID, we all work from different offices, but for digital companies, before that wasn't even a problem at all. We could all work from different places. We don't need another actual office. What they do is they bring out a product relatively quickly and then start reiterating and making it better with every round of changes. And this is what they talk about when they talk about agile. It's something that is still not set in stone. It's not a car that you're building the entire car before you put it out. You put out like just a very simple car in the beginning, and then you make it better with every change. And those are called iterations, and sometimes they call them sprints or scrums. So if this was your plan to go to the goal, you probably find out that in reality you're going through quite a different landscape. So you're going through there, patching each step, and each of these little patches would be an iteration to actually make it better and better. This works for products that are purely digital quite easily because they are easy to change, and you have to be open to the innovation and listen to the users to make them better, listen to your customers, what they really want. And you always need to know what the user came for, not what you think is the fanciest feature at this moment. What is the highest value for the customer that comes to your website for your product? But you do need to have some kind of way to make a revenue there. But you can make a very easy for the payment, and you can check if some of the resources that you're building might have higher costs than others. Maybe some of the ones that are very valuable to the user are actually not that expensive to build. You can try to automate some steps because you already have parts that are pre-built. Build these canned conversations that you respond to to your customers directly. Digital is very cost effective because the building material doesn't cost anything. So you can build a big website, but it doesn't cost you as much as building a big store. Traditionally, you could advertise in print, radio, direct mail, or telemarketing. It's quite expensive to advertise in print, and the return might not be that much. On TV as well, it might be really expensive to run a TV ad, and you only reach a broad mass of people, but it's maybe not the customers that you're actually looking for. Still, now it changed to you can target this much more directly into social media. You can even send text messages. You can run banner ads in Google. On top of the print, radio, direct mail, and telemarketing. And also you need to be careful with watching your search engine optimization. You can send spam mails. You can have better websites. You can run blogs, chatbots, and podcasts to reach more people. And even in the social media, there are so many different platforms that you can sync into. So in conclusion, digital is sort of free because the material doesn't cost. It can always evolve because it's never set in stone. It can always change and iterate and get better. And you have a lot of data that you can analyze. So when you're building this first product, it's called the MVP. Everyone in these marketing terms talks about the MVP, and it came out from this book, the Lean Startup, that mentioned it first. And after they read it, they sort of iterated this and called it the most lovable product. But it means pretty much that you bring out a product as soon as you can and then look at the data and the user to improve it and add features later on. So Mailchimp did that. This is one of the earliest logos that they had in the bottom there. And it was just a very simple app, but they tried to build a core user group that they could ask of their specific needs, and it grew into this really, really big company. They are very much about having customer service. The same happened with Zoom, Dropbox, or Slack. They started small and then grew bigger. They tested and responded to the users and to the data that they tested, and then they were doing iterations to make it better. Here's an example of the health care system in the UK. They first had a website that they put out as a beta, and then they watched how it would grow and how they would use it, as opposed to like what happened in the US when the Obamacare website came out. They put it out in at one day, and of course it was overwhelmed by the traffic right away, and it crashed and many users were very disappointed at it. But they didn't test it in smaller steps. They didn't build onto it. So in the UK, they built a very small one and then made it bigger and bigger. And I think this is what it looks like now at the time I took the screenshot. So there are different approaches. Also, one customer can really break. It can spread, like one bad review can spread on the internet quite easily. There was a story about someone who didn't get the good customer care at Dell, and he founded a website called dellhell.com. Dell thought it wasn't important that one guy that was like a grumpy tech guy, his opinion they didn't think was valuable enough to take care of, but the media got hold on it and interviewed this guy, and he was all over the place. It became a huge disaster for Dell. The opposite happened at Mailchimp, where they take care of every customer request, and it's almost too much how friendly they are, because when people start working there, they get first they will work in the customer service for a couple months before they move on, so that they get to know what the users really want. And when you call them with a problem, they're always really nice and helpful. So when you work remotely, these are offices I showed you before. It's the nice part that you can sit anywhere. But if you have no boss, then it's kind of hard. You have to be very self-motivated and self-managed. So I keep long lists, and I have calendars and all this to make sure that I stay on track with the work, because I don't have a boss to tell me what to do. So this guy, Seth Godin, he wrote a bunch of really good books about marketing. He wrote a book about the purple cow, which I recommend. It's not very long, and it's really funny and helpful. But he talks about how when you have a product and you have a purple cow, and you drive by a field of cows and you tell somebody about it, nobody will think this is anything special. But if you drive by a purple cow, then you have a story. So as the company, you need to build that story for the users to tell. There was a company called Little Mismatched, and they were doing socks. But their socks didn't match. So there was the story that every girl in the lunchroom would tell the next girl about their fashion and not matching socks. So this little company grew from a very small company into a huge company in no time, because they had this great story. You can do the testing on the web, which gives you all the data. You can see how people behave and what they really appreciate on their website. This is how you can build different prototypes, even out of paper, and just test them with a few people. And then later on, you bring out that MVP and see how the people that use that product respond. And then you build a better product, and you iterate it in every scrum and every sprint. You iterate it to a better product.